in the 1850s, 60s, when a lot of people were flooding into San Francisco, a lot of miners for the gold rush, there were a lot of Germans coming in, as well as a lot of different people of different ethnicities, but the Germans were brewers, and they liked to brew lager. Unfortunately, because of the kind of, I guess I'll say rustic conditions here in San Francisco at the time, they were unable to brew a proper lager. We didn't have refrigeration technology here in San Francisco at the time. We didn't even really have ice. Tracks to the High Sierras hadn't been laid yet to extract that ice. So, and I guess I should mention, to brew a proper lager, you need very cold conditions, close to freezing, to ferment the beer. So they changed things up. They did warm fermentation, or roughly 60 degrees, which is roughly, again, the average temperature of San Francisco, and they began to ferment beers at that temperature. And they came up with a certain type of beer that was unique to San Francisco. In California at the time, steam beer is also referred to as California common beer. Sometimes you might hear that, or steam beer. So there's 30, 35 different steam beer breweries around San Francisco between 1850 and the turn of the century, just past actually. Just a buzzword that got attached. As well, the kind of the wood cask, the oak barrels that you may see around the tap room. Brewers were filling those with beer at a very volatile stage in the brewing process in those days, and they were plugging the bung, and as you can see in the picture down here, they were taking them to the pubs on horse-drawn carriage, on unpaved streets. So if you've ever shaken a bottle of beer up and given it to your buddy or a soda or whatever, when you open that cap, there's a bit of a release, some hissing, some foam, some things that may resemble steam. And so the thought is, when bartender gets the cask of beer at the at the bar, it's his wedge and his mallet, and pops the bong, they get quite a surprise. Again, something that may resemble steam. The story I'm sold on, though, has to do with this third story on our old brewery, which was common site, this open air loft up here. It was a fairly common site in the 1850s, 60s, 70s, atop breweries, that is, in San Francisco. And what the brewers would do up there, they built these out of wood, these long, shallow pools or beds with a lot of surface area. And they would fill them with their beer, with their wort, actually. It's not quite beer yet, which I'll explain that when we get in the brew house. This wort is very hot, though, well over 200 degrees. And again, without refrigeration, without ice, they need to cool that wort down somehow. So they fill these cool ships up, these long, shallow beds with a lot of surface area, with that liquid, with that hot wort. Let the cool San Francisco air come in. Let the fog roll in on top of their buildings, and just cool it down naturally. And they say that heat exchange, there's a heat exchange there, you would see kind of fog or steam roll off those beds. That's where I think the name steam beer came from. But there's, like I said, that's a debate.